The Canon R6 Mark II, which I have with me here, and I've used it for almost 6 months now, is a really powerful workhorse for commercial video work. I've used it from everywhere from branding work to real estate to events, but it has two major deal-breaking flaws. The question is, are these particular two flaws deal-breaking enough for you? Let's find out. The number one flaw is the HDMI port. The HDMI port for this particular camera is considered a flaw because it is just a micro HDMI, and micro HDMIs are not strong enough. Let me give you a comparison here. This is the HDMI input that works for this. Look at it. That's what works for it. But for this particular C100 Mark II, this is the kind of head that works for the HDMI port. The size difference is very, very huge. Okay, another comparison here. This particular adapter here is what I used for my Canon ESR, which had the medium HDMI port. Now, the challenge with having a tiny HDMI port, which only takes tiny HDMI cords, is that it can easily damage, right? I've actually broken one of these. So the tiny HDMI is a challenge because this can break off easily. Now, for this particular issue of having a micro HDMI port, there is a workaround for it. And the workaround for it is just be careful. Be careful with it. Once you know that you have this plugged, be careful about whatever goes on here. If you are not actively using an external monitor on it, remove it. When you are using an external monitor on it, plug it carefully and move it around carefully. Make sure you don't bump it on objects or surfaces. The deep breaking flaw number two is still related to the HDMI, but this time it is the HDMI output. The Canon R6 Mark II does not produce clean HDMI output. For this particular R6 Mark II, once I have the external monitor plugged in, you can see all the information about the ISO, the aperture, the shutter speed, and every other thing that you have on your screen here being displayed on the external monitor. So it doesn't produce clean HDMI output. Another thing that is inside this particular deep breaking point number two is that once you have an external monitor plugged into this particular camera, the screen goes blind, and by extension, it means you lose every control over the screen. So the touch point stops working. You can't control any of your camera settings from the screen. Now, does this have a workaround? Yes. The workaround for the monitor not having a clean feed is you use the info button from your camera to select exactly kind of screen display that is showing on the external monitor. That is the workaround number one. Then the workaround number two for when you want to control your camera settings is either you control your camera settings using the joystick and the scroll wheel directly from the monitor, or just unplug the HDMI cord, change your settings, and then plug back the HDMI cord. You see that it's an extra step. That is why I am asking you, are these 2 points deep breaking enough? Are there enough reasons for you not to get this particular camera, or for you to stop using this particular camera, or are they not reasons enough for you to stop using this particular camera, or for you to not get this particular camera? Share your opinion here on the comment section. I would love to hear from you. If you love this particular video, hit the subscribe button and smash that like button. Don't forget to share. Don't be stingy.